Back in 1996, we were building a new sanctuary. We had outgrown our about 200-seat sanctuary, and we were needing a bigger sanctuary for growth. And we had a limited budget. We had a lot of blue-collar workers, and so we did a lot of the work ourselves. I remember one particular Saturday I was working in my jeans and my pullover shirt, and was working with one of our deacons, and we had just placed a large bathroom vanity in the bathroom, and we were mounting mirrors in the bathroom and doing some of the finishing touches in the bathrooms, and I was leaning against the vanity with 4 sinks in it, and there was a puddle of water underneath my feet, and one of the deacons said, Pete, he said, we've got a water leak someplace here in this bathroom. Well, I knew that wasn't possible because we hadn't turned the water on in the bathroom yet. But you got to understand that I don't perspire, I sweat, and water just runs off me. Anybody that's been around me when I'm working knows that that's a fact. And I had literally soaked my pullover shirt, soaked my pants, and water was literally running into my shoes. It was hot inside the building. There was no windows, little ventilation, and it was Florida heat. And literally, I was losing fluids so rapidly that it was puddling at my feet. Now, I know that some people would say, you had an accident. And it's not the case at all. I didn't have an accident. It was purely perspiration that was coming off me profusely. Well, when I got home from work that day, I could literally wring out my shirt, wring out my pants, my socks. My shoes were soaked. They were dirty and nasty. They were filled with caulking. They were filled with the perspiration. They were filled with dirt from the floor. And they were dirty old clothes. Well, here in the book of Ephesians in chapter 4, Paul tries to get us to get a visual of our lives before Christ and looking at our lives just as somebody would look at my dirty clothes. And here's what he says. So this I say and affirm together with the Lord, that you walk no longer just as Gentiles also walk, in the futility of their minds, being darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of ignorance and because of the hardness of the heart. And they, having become callous, have given themselves over to sensuality, for the practice of every kind of impurity and from greediness. But you did not learn Christ in this way, if indeed you have learned him and have been taught in him, just as truth is in Jesus, that in reference to your former manner of life you lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lust of deceit. Now, that's very important. It's a picture of laying off those old clothes of mine that were full of sweat and dirt and caulking, and to recognize the filthiness of my life before Christ. So let's just take another quick look, beginning at verse 17, at the things that make our old lives terrible. First of all, he says we have futility of minds. Second, he says we have been excluded from the life of God, and that's because of ignorance. And he says we've got hard hearts and calloused, so that sensuality and impurity is filling our lives. So here we have the contamination. It's very clear. Futility of mind, excluded from the life of God, ignorance, hardness of heart, callousness, sensuality, and every kind of impurity. So there's the contamination. And then comes Christ. You didn't learn that in Christ. You were taught in him, and he is truth. And here's the conclusion. In reference to that former style of life, lay it aside. Lay it aside. Now, one of the things that I would want you to realize is when I got done that work day, I went in and took a good hot shower. And I was clean and fresh and felt good again. Now, over in the corner of the bathroom was a pile of those old, dirty, corrupt clothes filled with perspiration, caulking, and dirt. Wouldn't it be ridiculous to put those back on after having gotten cleaned in the shower? Well, let's just picture then the fact that we were like that in those old dirty, sweaty clothes. And then Christ came along and he cleaned us, just like that shower cleaned me. So let's not go back to those old dirty clothes and put them back on again. And you'll see that in the next session as we look at the book of Ephesians. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.